Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. I am Lisa Dunlap, the Human Resources Benefits and Wellness Manager, and I'm excited to have you on today's call. At GTCC, we are committed to our employees as a whole person, including your financial well-being, and we are glad that you're taking advantage of this opportunity to participate in Variety's Financial Fitness Bootcamp. The sessions are being recorded and will be available for you to review. Without further ado, please welcome Verity's Jay.
Hi, GTCC. I am Jay Patterson. I'm with Verity Asset Management, and we are so excited to be partnering with you to bring you this summer financial boot camp. We know that this is an unprecedented time that we're living in right now, and how lucky you guys are to get this amazing benefit through GTCC. And we have a special treat for you. We have Becky Iacopelli from My Financial Answers. She's a certified financial planner, and she is here today to talk about managing cash flow. And what I want to do is I want to encourage you to stick around to the very end of this broadcast, because what we're going to do is open it up to all of your questions and answers, and you'll have full access to Becky right here live. So, I mean, what an amazing treat that is, right? So you're not going to want to miss that, okay? And I want to also, hi, Becky.
Hi.
How are you? Good afternoon. So good to see you. What I was thinking today, starting off today, we could start with a poll question to get everybody engaged and get them excited about what we're talking about today, managing cash flow. So today, the first poll question we're going to ask is, how often do you review your spending? So what I'd encourage all the attendees to do is to answer your question. Is it daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, as little as possible? Go ahead and put your vote in the box. I'm going to give you just a little bit. I mean, this is something that, you know, I know that sometimes it's tough to see so much money going out, and it's something that a lot of us just really don't want to face the truth of. But, you know, let's be honest and look at it. And Becky's going to give us some wonderful tips today about how to better manage your cash flow. And let me just say, as Becky is going through the presentation today, feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and I'm going to collate all those, and we're going to go through those at the end, okay? Just a few more seconds. Wonderful. All right. So here's our results. Wow. 25% of you look at your spending daily. Good for you. 19% look at it weekly. And half of you look at your spending monthly. That's awesome. Wonderful. Wouldn't you say, Becky?
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, Becky's going to take it away. We're going to talk about managing cash flow today.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Jay. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Rebecca Iacopelli. I'm a certified financial planner at My Financial Answers and the lead financial planner there. What our goal is to build some confidence for you guys in terms of your financial fitness through this boot camp. I've been working in wealth management for 7 years now, doing financial planning, investment management, and tax. So I hope to provide you some insights on how to manage your cash flow and overall improve your whole financial situation. So with that being said, let's get started with the presentation. All right, so welcome to week 1 of the Financial Fitness Summer Bootcamp. To start off with an example, I had a client who signed up for My Financial Answers, which is a tool available to you through your benefits program. They put in all their information for me to review, and we were able to find $1,000 a month after diving into budgets to save for retirement. $1,000 a month over 20 years invested in the market can build up to $583,000. So these are the success stories that really make my job satisfying and encouraging, knowing we are building financial futures and happy, stress-free retirements. So to further assist you in doing the same, this boot camp was designed to bring clarification and understanding to specific areas of your finances. With a deeper understanding of areas of your finances that greatly impact your life, you can make smart and sound decisions that will better your financial future. So through this boot camp, we're going to break things down and talk through steps you can take to conquer problem areas of your finance. So for the first week, we'll be discussing maximizing your cash flow. What are the best ways to go about saving for your future and manage your budget? For the second week, we will dive deep into debt management and student loan forgiveness, what programs are available to you, and how to reduce your debt over time. Third week, we'll do understanding your risk score. And that week, we will learn how to identify what level of risk you should be taking in your retirement and your investment portfolio based on your specific situation, and how important it is to be properly invested to achieve your goals. Fourth week, we will learn how to expand your plan using alternate scenarios. Here, we will go over how to make adjustments based on your scenario and what impact that will have on your overall plan. Lastly, in our fifth week, we will review understanding your Social Security and other elements of retirement income planning. So join us to get more detail on how to approach retirement and how to satisfy your income needs throughout retirement. We hope you'll find this series of webinars to be insightful and helpful to you as you navigate through your finances and ultimately strive to meet your goals. Don't forget to work with My Financial Answers tool, which is specifically tailored for the bootcamp and full of additional resources to help build your financial plan during this 5-week journey to a solid financial foundation, and coordinate with your advisor as well to assist you through your planning and help answer any questions that you have. So let's dive into 10 tips for maximizing cash flow. The first step in a successful financial plan is identifying your expenses. The reason this is of utmost importance is because the only way to build wealth is by spending less than you make. If you're spending more, there's really no way to build up your assets over time. Instead, you will be incurring debt and deepening a hole that is very difficult to get out of. However, in terms of identifying your expenses, you want to first take a look at a month that you would consider a typical month of spending. For an example, you may want to start the process by looking at your January statements. This is because the coronavirus lockdown has reduced the expenses for most of us, as we're not eating out or incurring travel expenses as we would under normal circumstances. So let's just say you start with January. First, you would need to take a look at your checking accounts and add up all of the withdrawals that were made during that month, including expenses from a debit card as well as cash withdrawals. Transfers to other accounts should be excluded, as that is not an expense. If you took anything out of your savings to pay bills, this should be included in your spending for that month as well. Additionally, take a look at your credit card statements. Any charges made to your credit card during that month would qualify for expenses for that month, even if you did not pay them off. Next, we want to categorize those expenses. This is the first step in creating a budget, which we'll get into in a minute. Categorizing the expenses gives you a clear picture as to where your money is going and on what. In order to troubleshoot your spending, it needs to be given a category, such as utilities, groceries, entertainment, and so on. Now we want to determine whether you have ended up with a surplus or a deficit. In order to do so, we want to add up your total take-home pay. So any sources of income you have, add up what hits your checking account, not your gross income. What matters in this case is what hits the bank. If you have a spouse that is self-employed, make sure to factor in any taxes that are owed and subtract them from the income received. This will give you the after-tax amount for the self-employment income. Next, we want to subtract our expenses that we calculated in our first step from our total income. This will give us either a negative number or a positive one. If we have a positive number, then we have a surplus, which is a wonderful thing. You are spending less than you make, and that is the key to building wealth. So great, you're off to a great start. With that surplus, you want to put it to good use. So be sure to save this extra cash. We want to identify our goals through building a financial plan and then utilize those funds to go towards one of your goals. This is where My Financial Answers comes in handy in building your plan, and a discussion with your advisor can help you determine how much you need to put towards your goals in order to meet them. If, on the other hand, you have a negative number, so a deficit, this is where we need to get into the troubleshooting process. We need to drill down on our expenses to find ways to cut. This is why categorizing, as mentioned before, is so important. In order to know what to cut, you need to know what areas you are spending the most on and most likely too much. Then we would proceed in drilling down to the individual transactions to see what exactly we're spending those dollars on. Do we go out to eat every night? Should we cook more to reduce our costs? Perhaps you are signed up for a ton of subscriptions like me, be it entertainment or others. Can we perhaps get rid of some of those to reduce our expenses? So for an example, my husband was eating out for lunch every day. So I started making his lunch and we saved over $250 per month. May not seem like a great deal, but it certainly adds up over time. I had clients that had to cut out country club memberships, saving thousands of dollars. And even now in the world of the pandemic, many are spending more on groceries because they are cooking more often, but their eating out expenses have taken a nosedive. Perhaps we can take this routine and extend it even past the lockdown, reducing our eating out expenses, which are much greater proportionally than an uptick in our groceries. These may be hard decisions to make, and of course they require some sacrifice. But if we want to make it anywhere in terms of retirement or other goals, this is something that is really non-negotiable. Number 3, let's actually create our budget. We always want to save first, then spend next. If we don't save first, we are likely to skip this altogether. If we save first, we will only see what's remaining as money to be spent, which can help us determine what our budget should be. In the coming slides, I will show you a way to determine how much savings is recommended. After we've determined our savings, we want to subtract that from our take-home pay that we calculated previously to come up with how much we have left to spend. From here, we want to break it down into the categories we identified before. Some adjustments may need to be made in order to fit these categories into our overall budget number. Some difficult adjustments might need to be made, but we need to build this out in order to be successful. There are some helpful apps that allow for us to follow a budget and track our expenses. Some of these include Mint.com and EveryDollar as an example. These are free. They allow you to build a budget quickly, connect your accounts, and monitor your spending over time. Personally, I use Mint.com for my budgeting app, and it's a great deal of help to me. I look at it every day to see if there are charges on my accounts, create goals for savings, and check back on how much I spend on certain areas to see if I can improve in any way. Having an app with a live budget, it allows you to take a look at your budget before making what could be a questionable purchase. Instead of impulsively buying something you may not need, take a look at your app before doing so. This will help you gain perspective and determine whether or not it fits in your budget for that month. If you can cut it, go ahead and make the purchase. But if not, skip it. Maybe you will have room next month, or maybe you need to save up instead of buying right away. One important tip is to make grocery store purchases a separate budget from eating out and restaurants. This is often one of the largest expenses of your budget outside of housing costs. Buying lunch every day, going out to eat, ordering takeout, that can really add up quickly. So some of this may need to be cut back. Cooking meals, although sometimes time-consuming, are significantly cheaper than eating out. Specifically, drinking alcohol out at bars and restaurants comes at a high premium. So adjusting these expenses may be critical to coming up with a reasonable budget. Here's an example of 2 ways we can make a budget. So on our left, we see the spreadsheet method where we manually enter all of our income and expenses into a template. Then we can go back each month and enter what we actually spent to see the difference, whether or not we were on track or whether or not we were over budget. This can be a good baseline to get our ducks in a row before making our online version if that's the route you want to take. On the right, we have a snapshot from Mint.com as an example that shows each of our budget categories and a bar that lights up green, red, or yellow, depending if we were over, under, or right on par. So these automatically adjust as you continue to spend since your accounts, they're connected. Due to it being live and rather effortless, this is an extremely helpful tool, so I highly recommend it. And best of all, it's free. So how do we build our budget? What is the baseline for how much we should be spending and saving? So to best determine this, we want to start with the 50-30-20 rule. This states that 50% of your after-tax income should be going towards your basic needs. This includes housing costs, transportation, insurance, groceries, healthcare, utilities, and other essentials to living. The next 30% can be used for our wants or our fun money. These include things such as ordering takeout, entertainment, cocktails with friends, new decorations for our home, or even new gadgets. Lastly, and most importantly, 20% of our income should be going towards saving for our future. This includes paying down debt, saving for retirement, and saving for other endeavors such as a down payment on a house. Identifying how much we need for retirement, that's where my financial answers and your advisor's assistance can really come into play. So taking a look at your overall situation and coming up with a number for what to save is something we can do together. All in all, building a budget takes a bit of thought at first, but take the time over the summer to come up with a solid budget, and you can use the apps to see how well you stick with it over time. The changes you make as a result will be extremely helpful to you in the long run. Now we move on to addressing a deficit. Deficit which can quickly build up outstanding debt. Some ways we can change some of our behaviors is by breaking things down on a weekly basis. For example, if our grocery budget per month is $400, we know we have $100 to spend every week when we go to the grocery store. Making a list in advance can be very helpful to keep things on track. Many grocery stores have apps that let you put your list in an online cart. This will add up your total bill for you so you can see how much everything will cost before even entering the store. Of course, you can also have your order delivered or for pickup, which allows you to add and remove easily to fit within your budget. This way, you won't be tempted by the special treats that are on the end of the aisle that you really don't need, but you can't resist after seeing them. So personally, if I see the Keebler M&M Rainbow cookies on the end of the aisle, I may want to buy 4 boxes, but that is certainly not something I need. Not to mention, it's not great for my diet. So this is one step in recognizing the difference between wants and needs. Distinguishing between the two is extremely important, and also it's a hard reality to face. I had clients who wanted to take their kids to Disney World, but they had 3 kids, and as everybody knows, it is certainly a very costly trip to go to Disney with 5 people. So we added up the costs, and it was far above what they could afford without taking on credit card debt. They had to make a tough choice in where they wanted to go, but instead they went to the Outer Banks, which was much more affordable and actually less than their budgeted costs. They said how much of a relief it was to not have that debt, especially since the kids, they had a blast anyway. So these luxuries over and above what we need qualify as wants. Buying that luxury car instead of the economy car, well, that's a want. Do we actually need the fancy designer name pair of shoes, or can we buy an off-brand to save significant dollars and cents? This is a learned behavior that is tough to face if we're used to making impulsive decisions. We need to take a moment to think before we buy to ensure we are making the wise decision. We can think about what we used to get by with before we had to have that new thing. Somehow we were getting by, and maybe that is good enough if it doesn't fit in our budget. It doesn't sound very fun, but having no money for retirement, well, that's not going to be very fun either. Something we can also do is simplifying our accounts as well as nicknaming them. It's easier to track money coming in and out of the main checking account instead of a few. We may not see the complete picture if we have our money spread out in too many places. This can distract us from what we actually have to spend and save. When it comes to savings, however, different accounts with identifying names can be helpful. First and foremost, we want to make a separate emergency fund account for rainy days. 3 to 6 month expenses is recommended for this account. Once we have it in there, the goal is not to touch it unless necessary. So perhaps our dishwasher needs repair or our car is in the shop. These would be examples of a rainy day expense. But it is most important for if there's a job loss in the family. Since COVID, over 21 million people are out of a job, giving the nation a 13% unemployment rate. I think it's down to 11% now, which is a number not seen since the Great Depression. So there's likely someone you know, if not someone in your own family, who has suffered job loss during these times. So having enough to get by during these difficult times without going into debt, well, that's extremely significant. You can often nickname your accounts on your bank's website. So naming the account emergency fund and then the other savings accounts after what they are intended for, such as Disney World 2022, because that's the only time you're going to be able to go there, or home down payment. We can track our progress for savings through the apps we mentioned before as well. This can motivate us to continue and ensure that we do not go into debt when these events do arise. Next, let's go into credit card versus a debit card and who should use which one. The question really lies in what kind of spender you are and your habits. Are you self-disciplined with spending? If you are not, a debit card would be for you. This means you can only spend what you make. The money comes out of your checking account immediately, and there's no way to spend more than you have in this account. This can be very beneficial for someone who likes to spend $200 on this pair of shoes that they really can't afford. Personally, when I was 22, I bought myself a Louis Vuitton purse as a graduation present to myself, which I, of course, had to take out of my savings for. But if you tend to go over on your expenses and go into debt or take out of your savings account to have enough funds on a monthly basis, a debit card is for you. Two downsides to a debit card is the lack of rewards often offered with credit card, as well as the lack of protection from fraud. You may be liable if someone steals your debit card and it is not caught right away. On the contrary, if you are self-disciplined with your spending and find yourself sticking to your budget on a regular basis, a credit card then may be for you. Credit cards often have rewards such as cash back or travel points that allow you to have some extra funds towards your next trip or your bills in general. Personally, I use my credit cards for all my expenses, but I pay it off in full every month. The benefits are great and the cash back really adds up over time, which helps me pay for some extra fun activities or helps on vacation. They also offer liability protection for fraudulent purchases, which can prove very handy in a bad situation. So one time I had someone purchase over $2,000 of something at Home Depot, which was certainly not me because I didn't own a home at that point. And it was covered right away by the credit card company. You are only offered limited protection on a debit card, and it depends on how soon you report. If you don't report soon enough, you may be liable for the entire amount. What's important to remember when using credit cards, however, is that these should be paid in full every month. In that way, it acts similar to a debit card, but you are paying it all at the same time as opposed to transaction by transaction. You can choose the payment date on your credit card to be after you get paid so that the entire balance can be paid using your income. This means you pay zero interest, and this is why being self-disciplined is of utmost importance. If you're not self-disciplined, you will spend over the amount that you make, and then you will have a balance that you can't pay, which will incur interest, and a high rate of interest at that. For example, if you had a balance of $1,000 on your credit card with an interest rate of 24%, say your minimum payment is $21, and that is all you pay, you will have paid over $3,200 in total payments, and it would take nearly 13 years to pay that off. And that's only $1,000 of debt. So we want to avoid this as much as possible. So have some honest self-reflection and determine which kind of person you are. And then choose the best method based on your behaviors. In this image here, we see in the yellow, that's our new balance, which is the balance we pay if we're going to pay in full and have zero interest incurred. The orange is our minimum balance, in which case we would incur the 19% interest that is seen in blue. So let's be sure to pay the yellow, which is the full balance, each month to stay out of debt while also reaping the benefits of a credit card and their perks. What do we do about large purchases? So there's always going to be something that comes up that we need that knocks our budget out of the water. If it's a want and not a need, or a need that is not sudden, the best course of action is to plan in advance. When we plan in advance, we can think more carefully about what we should purchase, how much we should spend, and also if we really need it at all. We can also start saving up for the purchase. In order to save up, we can break it down into mini goals, as we mentioned before. If we want a certain amount for Christmas to avoid going into debt, divide the amount by the number of weeks of the year, and it will be a more manageable goal. For example, if you want $1,300 by the end of the year, all you need is $25 per week. So pack your lunch for 2 days during the week instead of eating out, and there you've got your $25. Immediately take that $25 during that week and transfer it into your savings. Also, you can buy your items on big sales holidays. Holidays are great for this, as well as most significantly Black Friday, Cyber Monday, even Memorial Day, Labor Day, and July 4th. You can find great deals and save tons of money. If you think far enough advance, you can even buy birthday and holiday gifts during these times instead of last minute to save hundreds of dollars. If it is an emergency, however, like an extensive home repair or a car accident, you may need to take it out of your emergency fund. There's no shame in doing so because this is what the emergency fund is for. Things break down and medical emergencies may occur, which require us to take out of our emergency fund. But just be sure to replenish it over time, and then you will be back to where you were in no time. As I mentioned before, we want to pay ourselves first and then spend the leftovers. This is sometimes the only way that we can remain disciplined with savings. One way to ensure this happens is by splitting your direct deposit. Oftentimes through online payroll services or through your HR, you can split your deposit to go into different accounts automatically. Doing so will immediately put the money into a savings account and the remaining balance into your checking account. You will never even see the money that you might otherwise be tempted to spend. After you've gone through the process of creating your budget, basing it on the 50-30-20 rule as we discussed, you can use the numbers to make those changes on your payroll. Another change to make through your payroll is contributions to your retirement accounts. Through your employer, you can make contributions to your 403B or 401k to automatically take out of your paycheck. This is another way to have automatic savings and not be tempted to spend what you intended to save by having it come out of your checking account first. So we strongly encourage you to prepare the discussed points in order to take a step forward in building your financial plan. In order to determine how much you need saved for certain goals, and particularly retirement, please sign up to build your financial plan through My Financial Answers for free using the coupon code provided by your benefits program. After filling out the information requested, you can get in contact with an advisor through schedule an appointment to have even further guidance on how much to contribute to your retirement accounts and to what accounts you contribute to maximize your tax benefit. Our mission is to see you achieve your life goals through financial fitness, and the first step in doing so is getting a handle on maximizing your cash flow. So, utilize these 10 steps to get there, and you'll be well on your way to meeting your goals. So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week for debt management and student loan forgiveness, and I hope you stick around for some questions that we'll have starting now.
Thank you so much, Becky. That was amazing as usual. That was a lot of information, and I see we already have some questions coming in. I want to give you guys time to kind of process that, and while in any other questions that you have, go ahead and drop those in the question box. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a couple more poll questions while we're waiting for some more questions, okay? Here's a good one. What types of tools do you use to track your spending? Do you use the Excel spreadsheets, an online tool like Becky talked about, Mint? Do you use old school pen and paper, online banking tools, or do you just keep it all in your head? I'll give you guys just a few minutes to answer that one. Mint looks like such an amazing tool, Becky. Definitely going to sign up for that.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And again, question box is open. Any questions that you have, Becky's right here and available to answer those questions. All right. Here we go. What types of tools do you use to track your spending? 43% of you use Excel spreadsheets. 14% of you are already using a tool like Mint. A lot of us are still using pen and paper, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some of us are using, our 14% are using online banking tools. I have seen a lot of financial institutions really get into this, and they can break down your spending retroactively. You can look back on the past year, and that would be a good tool, Becky, to help moving forward, kind of analyze your past spending and use it to plan for the future. We have one more poll question while we're waiting for some more of your questions to come in. How would you characterize your approach to managing your cash flow? Are you on top of it? Could you do better? But you're pretty organized, but you're just getting by, or, gosh, you just need some help. And again, like Becky just said, I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of My Financial Answers. It's an amazing benefit brought to you by GTCC. Will really help you walk through a lot of the things that Becky talked about today in planning your budget, setting good spending goals, sticking to that, all with the long-term goal of financial security in retirement. It's an excellent resource that I would like to encourage everyone on this call to take advantage of. All right. Let's see what we got here. Awesome. So most of us really feel like we could do a little bit better. Some of us we're just getting by. Nobody feels like they're on top of it, and that's quite all right. This is absolutely why we're here. We're here to help you get on top of these financial goals, manage your cash flow, and to make the best of your retirement. That's all of our goal and our hope for every single one of you here. Now, feel free to keep asking your questions in the question box. We have a few really good questions here. Here's one. How do you adjust your budget when the price of groceries has increased since COVID? Have you seen that, Becky?
Yeah, so unfortunately, since COVID, we've had some increases in the prices of groceries, which is really detrimental to folks who are especially on a tight budget. So unfortunately, there's really no way around that other than cutting coupons and making sure we find deals at the grocery store. But even shopping at other grocery stores, such as Walmart grocery or something like Aldi's, I don't know if that's in your area, but these are lower cost grocery stores. And I've noticed myself that they've had better prices and less of an increase on certain things than the other grocery stores may have had. So I think really using the tools that are available, like putting them in using the app, such as Walmart.com, to add up all your groceries. And that way you're not putting in things like 6 bags of chips or something like that you may not need, and you can really see the prices add up at the end. So you'll see, oh wait, I had $100 to spend that week, but my total checkout bill is $125. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything that maybe I can cut out so that I can afford this month's grocery bill. So unfortunately, if we can't do that, we're going to have to cut back on some other things, maybe temporarily, maybe not, it doesn't have to last forever, but certain things, maybe we have a subscription to Netflix, Hulu, Apple Music, Spotify, everything like that. Maybe we can cut one of those things out per month, and that gives us the extra $15 or $20 that we need so we can start increasing our grocery budget. So there's a few ways to cut back, and hopefully this is a temporary situation that won't last forever.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Another good question. Oh, yes. Can we get this presentation emailed to us? Yes, it will be sent in an email with your information to be able to get on Becky's calendar and schedule a one-on-one visit. And that's no additional cost. This is all a benefit brought to you by GTCC, but to also help you walk through your individual concerns, your individual plan, and set you on a path that's perfect and individualized just for you. And yes, another person asked the link for My Financial Answers. That's going to be in the email also, right, Becky? Or
yeah. So actually, let me share my screen for you real quick. Then you can see that link there as well. So that's the link to sign up for My Financial Answers, and that'll also be sent to you in follow-up as well, so that you can sign up and register for it.
Yes. And it'll also have a link to get on your calendar, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So there'll be a Calendly link, it's called, and what you can do is click on that, select a time that's convenient for you, and we'll meet up and we'll discuss your personal financial goals and walk you through an actual financial plan, so we can really get a handle on your goals and get you saving for retirement.
Wonderful. Here's another question about My Financial Answers. Can the My Financial Answers tool help me decide between paying down debt versus increasing savings?
Yes, absolutely. So that's what I'm here for. So that's one of those things that we'll try to strike a balance between debt management and also saving for retirement. And I encourage you also to tune in for next week, because that's where we'll really discuss how we can manage our debt and how we can cut costs down when it comes to debt, and also balance the two between saving for retirement and debt management. But I would want to definitely specifically look at your personal debt, the interest rates that you're paying, and things like that, so that we can tailor the results to you and make sure we come up with a solid plan.
Perfect. Wonderful. Becky, someone wants to know, why would you recommend just one main banking account?
Yeah, so that just helps to keep everything in perspective. Because sometimes if we're taking out of separate accounts, we might not be able to keep track of all. I mean, maybe you can, maybe that's easier for you to look at all things separately. But overall, it's simpler to just have one account where you see everything coming out of, and you know your constant balance of what you have in your checking account at one time. So you can really see how much you have left to spend and counter that with what you have coming up in your bills.
And I definitely like your idea of setting specific accounts, like a specific emergency fund and a Disney account, or whatever large purchases that you're aiming for. It definitely helps to itemize your spending.
Yeah, we definitely want to set things aside. So the goal really is to not go into debt. So we want to make sure we're aware of what's a balance in our checking account that's left to spend, and what we have in savings, so that we're not incurring any credit card debt to pay for our monthly expenses.
Yes. And someone's asking the code for My Financial Answers. The link is still up on the screen. You can see it's verityinvest.myfinancialanswers.com/register. How do I schedule a consultation with Becky? We will send the link to Becky's calendar along with the replay of this entire webinar. So perfect. Is it better to pay additional on principal of home mortgage, or put that additional in a retirement account? That's a really good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on your interest rate. So usually mortgage interest rates are lower than something like credit cards or even auto loans. So usually mortgage rates are pretty low, and right now they're at historical lows as well. So being that said, you can make a lot more in the market than you can by paying off your interest on your mortgage. So say, for example, you're making 10% in the market and you're only paying 4% on your mortgage. Then you're making an additional 6% by investing that in retirement, as opposed to paying down your mortgage. So I would definitely recommend saving for retirement over paying off your mortgage early.
Wonderful. And here we have a question. What is that called? OneMore.com. I'm not sure if we were talking about My Financial Answers, or maybe we were talking about Mint.com.
So I had mentioned Mint.com and EveryDollar. Maybe that's what you're talking about. EveryDollar is another free budget app that you can use to track your spending.
Sure. And if you need any, clarification on that, just go ahead and type that in the chat box. And that is all of our questions we have for today. What a great session, Becky. This was so very, very helpful. I hope that all of you got value. You definitely see the benefit in Becky's knowledge and getting on that solid financial plan. Don't forget, the link is right here to register for My Financial Answers. It's an excellent tool to help you reach your financial goals. And also, don't forget to set up an appointment with Becky so that you can talk one-on-one about your individual situation, your individual goals, and she'll help you set you on the right path to get there, okay? It has been my pleasure to host this event with you all tonight. I'd love to thank Lisa and the entire GTCC team for helping us set this up. We're so excited to be a part of this. We look forward to seeing you next week, same time, next Tuesday. And I want to wish you all an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.